Good morning, everyone. Chris here, and I want to talk about M&A today, mergers and acquisitions. So last week, I did a post about how I felt that the AI in the contact center industry had plateaued rather than seen a bubble. So we'd ran out of innovation effectively. And that result of that was a lot of companies that look alike. And there was a comment made to that post, which was quite insightful about part of the reason we still see so many companies doing the same thing is because of a lack of M&A activity in the market. And I think that's quite astute, actually, because one of the, I guess, best pieces of advice, important pieces of advice I'd give a startup or a founder is to know the sea you're swimming in, and to know it cold so that you can predict the currents before they change. Every startup at some point is going to have a liquidity event. You're either going to run out of cash and die, um, or you're going to go IPO, which very few companies actually will achieve that. Or you're going to exit through acquisition, which is the most, besides going defunct, the most common way to realize liquidity. But right now, very few companies are buying. So if you rewind 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the M&A activity, particularly in contact center, has been quite rich. I mean, you've got NICE and Verint, which are both roll-ups built over 2 decades started out as call recording, and they both diversified out. Beyond that, you had back in the day, we had Cisco and Avaya, and Genesis, all of them quite acquisitive. And at some level, Zoom was in the early days as well. But fast forward to today, and really that, post GPT moment, if you will, the only companies that are getting acquired right now are ones that are adding material cash or cash flow to the acquirer. So take NICE. They're only buying companies that are going to improve their quarterly earnings. Look back 2 years, prove me wrong. Five9, interesting. I think they overpaid for Asius, but that was more of a tuck-in strategy that would have added some level of cash contribution, to their earnings. Zoom hasn't acquired anyone since Solvay a few years ago, probably because their organic growth is at a level that they don't have to make a lot of acquisitions. But the FANGs, the Facebooks and the Apples and the Netflix and the Googles, they're not buying right now either. They're either building this stuff in-house or they're waiting for the market to mature enough. So I think the point of this is that no matter where you're at in the adoption life cycle or the growth life cycle, you need to be thinking about who are the acquirers in your space. How do you align with them? How do you understand what's important to them? And then how do you think of, at some level, your company not as building products, but as the product, so that at some point you'll have that, you know, liquidity event or some type of an acquisition.